Welcome back to another video brought to you by my Grid Hub. Big rewards often equal big risks. It is not to be forgotten that big risks bring big rewards. When purchasing, improving, and reselling, you have to note that builders do not take their money on a single deal. They depend on sales of a volume of properties. They can make 500 homes in a subdivision. If they get at least 10% profit on a property of $200,000, 500 houses will fetch them a profit of $10 million. This is a good amount. A house renovator, who is also known as a rehabber, turns a dilapidated home into a beautiful one. These renovators earn a minimum profit of 20% on the properties that they handle. Such amounts are much more than what you can make by simply buying and reselling or wholesaling. Rehabbers may buy farmland at $10,000 per acre, and then sell off 4 lots per acre at $20,000 apiece after enhancing them. This is a huge return, even after taking into account land and improvement expenses. Many real estate investors do not easily adopt this approach, mainly because of the skill levels and capital required for it. Some are content while making their money by merely being the middleman, while others have experience in the area of renovating and enhancing and look for ways of building up capital to expect big rewards. A successful approach to real estate investing is to be totally flexible in your approach and allow every deal to take its course of profitable action. Often, earning a small amount by selling a property fast without any improvement may be smarter than taking on risk of adding resources and outlay for renovation. It's been a pleasure giving you this information, and I look forward to talking to you in our next video. Building wealth on a long-term basis. Real estate investment is a great medium for earning quick cash for your customers' needs, but real estate investment is a great medium for earning quick cash for your current needs, but it can also generate financial security in the long term. Real estate investing has been recognized for delivering returns and building long-term wealth. This section of the presentation will show you how you can create a financial empire from investment in real estate. Buying and holding is the approach which is often linked to real estate investment. It focuses on the concept of buying real estate and then renting it out to tenants. It is traditionally known as buy and hold investing and has been a source of good wealth for many investors. If you have played the board game Monopoly, then you are aware of the power of ownership and lease of real estate. It is a strategy that could be tax-friendly for you, as it allows you to keep more of what is earned than with a fast cash technique. There are 3 important profit centers when you buy and hold real estate. The first profit center is when the tenant pays you more than the cost of maintenance, such as taxes, mortgage payments, repairs, and insurance. You will profit from cash flow every month. The second profit center is when your mortgage payment includes a principal component. Every time a payment is made toward it, the tenant is actually helping you pay down your mortgage and increase your equity. The third profit center is realized when the value of the real estate appreciates over a period of time, giving you profit from the increased value. The secret behind the successful application of the buy and hold technique is in buying a property well below its current market assessed value. It helps you gain instant equity for you to profit from the cash flow and the paying down of the principal amount. Appreciation of that property is an added bonus for you. It is just like icing on a cake. However, appreciation may take some time. It may not happen whenever you desire it. When real estate investors buy a property in the hope of gaining a huge profit from its appreciation, this strategy is known as speculation. It has been a pleasure giving you this information, and I look forward to talking with you in our next video. Purchasing, improving, and reselling. This section will be slightly different than the previous one, because it tells you not only about reselling a property for a higher value than you purchased it for, but also involves enhancement of the property in terms of repair or value addition. This is an important aspect of successful real estate investment. A dilapidated property or a property that will be included in foreclosure could be bought at a low value. It could then be repaired or fixed up and resold at a higher than current market value to a buyer. This type of real estate investing model has made millionaires out of many people in the past. An example could be given of a builder who buys a property lot from a developer and then builds on that very lot. He resells his newly built property. The developer is also an important part of this investing model. He or she could buy raw land and then enhance the area by adding utilities and roads. Individual lots could be sold to builders at a later date. People used to give examples in the 19th century that the two most profitable types of business were buying whiskey by the bottle and selling it by the shot, and purchasing real estate by the acre and selling it off by the lot. This model has a small drawback. It involves risk, and it needs more resources than just flipping or wholesaling. You need a lot of cash to buy properties in disrepair and then fund the repairs. Improvement of a property needs knowledge of a specialized kind. Several municipalities have rigid rules that have to be followed when you're trying to build or enhance lots. There are liabilities in the form of injuries when people are working on a property to improve it. When you enhance a particular piece of property, it is not always possible to get a good rate for it to compensate you sufficiently for your efforts and costs. Developers face such risks all the time. They have to gamble on cities when they make them grow in a certain direction, and face disappointment when there's a population shift out of those cities in some other direction before they've completed their development project. Enhancement of a property versus merely buying and reselling is a very big responsibility. It's been a pleasure providing you this challenges with property management. A major issue connected with purchasing and holding real estate is faced when you happen to be the landlord of a property. Despite the responsibilities and risks that ownership brings, it is still one of the highly profitable businesses on almost any profitability measure. Management of a property becomes a tough challenge when you do not have the systems in place to handle issues when they crop up, and when the cash flow generated by a property is not lucrative enough to balance the cost that is connected with leasing it. It is wiser to use the services of a property management company. These firms offer a decent leasing system, and they are experienced in the management of properties. They have consistent relationship with vendors, such as maintenance engineers and eviction attorneys, who are required to support a good property management system. They can even handle issues brought up by the toughest of tenants. The only drawback with the hiring of such firms is that they charge 10% of the gross rent you receive annually, and this could utilize a large amount of the positive cash flow. It should also be remembered that all property management companies are not created equal, and some of them do not use proper leasing systems. One of the dangerous challenges faced when hiring a property management company is when that company profits from the repairs it carries out. Often, the contractor who does the work may provide a property management company referral fees for the work allotted to him or her. As an owner, you will be paying all of the maintenance bills, and there is no actual downside to let you pay more for work on a property. It is easier to lease a property when it is properly maintained. The bottom line is that a property management company earns not only its maintenance charges from you, but it also earns additional referral fees from independent contractors on the side. As a property management company earns more when repairs are needed on the property, it may result in bringing tenants who will not be keen on maintaining your property adequately. Property management companies can move undesirable tenants into your property. Their managers may send prospective tenants along with their rental applications to you for final review. You never know that you might be making a choice between a bad tenant and a worse tenant in many cases. This is to prove a point that incentives for a property management firm may sometimes be at odds with the property owner like you. Is it really worthwhile to hire a property management company as opposed to managing your own property? We can give you another example. One of our students managed his own property. He did not hire outside help. This was possible because he devised a good system for managing his property, and he knows how to locate good tenants in quick time. He had built up good rapport with his vendors and eviction attorneys in order to maintain his property. He saved for himself hundreds of dollars every month by doing the job himself and avoiding a property management firm. This example is not meant to discourage real estate investors or property owners from hiring property management companies, as there are many reliable ones out there who do a decent job without being greedy. It becomes essential sometimes to depend on these management firms, as your property may be located very far from where you stay, and you may not have the resources or systems in place to maintain it. The wiser decision might be to hire a property management company, after making it clear that you would actually be managing the show, and they would have to follow the systems you devise and would keep you in the loop when they hire vendors and bring tenants in. It's been a pleasure giving you this information, and I look forward to talking to you in our next video. Single-family home or triple-unit triplex. Buying and holding properties will differ vastly between various types of properties. Single-family homes may be easy to resell when a tenant moves out, and you need to realize your equity profits in quick time. Leasing single-family homes may also prove costly when a tenant stops paying rent on time, or when you find it difficult to offset the vacancy after a tenant leaves. This leads to high vacancy holding costs until the time that your property is leased out again. You have to remember that properties like double-unit duplexes and triple-unit triplexes, or 4-unit quads, have a higher potential to give you good income, because you have a higher volume of units to offset monthly expenses in case of a vacancy in any of them. At the same time, these properties that produce high income can also be difficult to sell, and they may not appreciate in value as fast as you expect. These types of properties are valued depending on the kind of income they generate. In comparison, single-family homes will get valued based on what the real estate market is paying for them. In fact, single-family homes are the most desirable kinds of residential properties. They have a large buyer pool potential, and they appreciate in value much better than income-producing properties like duplexes. Rates of rents will not rise as sharply as the home prices. This is the reason why some investors prefer to buy and hold single-family homes only. They get larger cash payouts when they resell these homes. Investors who opt for income-producing properties do so because of the steady cash flow they expect to receive during low vacancy periods. This happens due to the ability to offset vacancy in any of the units with the income of other rented units. With experience, you will come to know about a particular niche in properties that you would like to concentrate your energy on. There are times when you would be better off with a mix of income-producing properties and single-family homes. Some investors like to own bigger apartment buildings as a result of economies on scale that would be generated from various units that are contained within the same location. They could easily be managed by a manager who looks after them on a full-time basis. You need not pay a management company or a manager a remuneration of 10% on each unit. You could even propose a salary and get the services out of the manager for a lesser capital outlay on your part. You have to be cautious that you do not place all your eggs in the same basket, as the results will not be encouraging. Things change fast in the real estate market in terms of trends, and certain income-producing properties or apartments may not give you the returns that you expect. When you concentrate on the same type of property when investing, financial security in the longer term will also ebb and flow by how the property behaves. The secret to success is being selective when you own and hold real estate, and in the types of properties that you buy. When you manage a property well after buying it, that investment will be a rewarding one. It will be a frustrating experience if you purchase the wrong type of property in a particular period and manage it poorly. Experts in real estate management have, however, pointed out that when you buy the wrong kind of real estate and give it enough time to hold, a bad investment could also correct itself. You will be able to make more informed decisions and be successful when you have interaction with people who have considerable experience in real estate ownership. It's been a pleasure giving you this information, and I look forward to talking with you in our next video. Buying, controlling and renting to own, selling on terms. Over the ages, investors in real estate have attempted to minimize the risks that they face in connection with the conventional buying and holding strategies while soaking the benefits in. They have tried to have their cake and eat it too. They have always been seeking tenants that would be disciplined enough to keep up with their rental payments every month and on time. They were looking out for those tenants who would take care of any maintenance problems that cropped up. These exceptions gave rise to the techniques of selling on terms and renting to own, or lease with an option to purchase. The strategy of renting to own is not commonly utilized with income-producing properties. It is mostly followed in the case of single-family homes. In such cases, a tenant is known as a tenant buyer. This kind of renter becomes different because he or she is not a tenant any longer. This person is going to be the owner eventually, and this motivates the tenant buyer to make the rental payments on time, every month, and he or she also is keen on covering all maintenance issues that may arise. There are several methods by which such a concept gets executed. Few investors sell their properties actually to tenant buyers by playing the role of banks, and they also collect mortgage payments, while other investors remain owners of their properties and they simply lease out their unit to the tenant buyers. This provides the tenant with an option to buy their property for a couple of years. Some investors do not buy the real estate. Instead, they lease with an option to buy the property from its original owner and then slowly release that same property to another tenant buyer. This is referred to as the sandwich leasing option. Every country has its individual laws to govern such concepts. What applies in one country may not be applicable in another. However, the concept still thrives with investors just leasing their properties to tenant buyers who eventually want to purchase them in return. The profit centers that are associated with this strategy include all that are included in the conventional buying and holding kind of investing. They also allow the ability to get an upfront payment with a non-refundable option from the tenant when he or she moves in as a refundable deposit or security down payment when the property is being sold on contract terms. Investors can expect huge profits at the termination of the option periods when the tenant buyer actually has to purchase the property. It's been a pleasure giving you this information, and I look forward to talking with you in the next video. A good blend of strategies. Various rehabbers have employed a blend of buying, renovating, and reselling strategies along with selling on the rent-to-own technique. There are two important reasons why this is considered a good blend. First, you will be able to sell your property for a higher value when you offer favorable terms to buyers than in cases where you would be selling in an open real estate market to buyers who are working out their own individual loans. The second reason is that you do not have to pay commissions on sales, which are normally being charged when you sell homes in an open market. This can save you upwards of 5%. Real estate investors who are experienced feel that less than 20% of the tenant buyers finally exercise their option of buying a property over from their landlords. In reality, the property may not be sold to them even after it's offered on a rent-to-own basis. This strategy may be tough to apply for any other property besides a single-family home, as people living in apartments very rarely are interested in becoming owners of apartment buildings. Yet, the fact remains that giving your property on a rent-to-own basis to tenant buyers may bring you good results in terms of wealth building on a long-term basis. There are some innovative ways of reducing potential risks when you own real estate. However, you have to keep in mind that you're dealing with all kinds of people in this market, and some people do not like to keep their promises. A fast cash approach may allow you to enter and exit in quick time, but acquiring real estate for building wealth on a long-term basis is a big responsibility. If the tenant buyers do not keep up their promises and their payments, maintaining the property will be a burden. Experts in real estate investment have pointed out that it's much easier to get into a real estate deal than it is to get out of one. The best way you can reduce the risks involved is by being selective and acquiring deals that will allow you little room for error. This is possible when you have sufficient instant equity and a good cash flow situation, along with financing terms that are favorable to you. People have built a fortune from purchasing and leasing real estate, and it has been their path to financial freedom. There are some ambitious investors out there who are in a big hurry to succeed, and they start to own several properties. Your objective is not to simply be the owner of many properties, but to invest in solid and steady real estate. It is probably wiser to own less, but the right kind of properties, than to pile up your portfolio with poor purchasing decisions. Your real estate portfolio has to be built wisely and with patience. It will then pay you good dividends for many generations to come. It has been a pleasure giving you this information, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Advanced Investing Strategies. Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world." After gaining an elementary understanding of how you can make money in the world of real estate, you can proceed to develop a deeper understanding of this subject. There are various strategies that could be applied based on individual situations. The main objective of this section of the presentation is to familiarize you with these strategies and to show you how they may be applied in the real world in real time. Wholesaling is a very popular strategy among beginners in the world of real estate, as it needs no resources or commitments. It helps in generating quick cash. This process is also referred to as flipping. Wholesaling requires you to get a seller to agree to a lower price or terms that are favorable to you as a buyer. After you buy the property, Then you have to flip or wholesale the property deal to a new buyer altogether for a higher value or a commission. For example, a property owner agrees that he or she will sell you a house for $200,000, even though its current market value is around $250,000. You can lock up this deal in a contract. After a few days, you're able to locate an investor willing to pay $225,000. Your spread will be $25,000, or 12.5% of the original deal. The entire wholesaling process becomes meaningful if, as a wholesaler, you are able to find deals at 70% or less of the current market value, and then flip to investors who are willing to buy the same property for 75% or higher than its current market value. Wholesaling will presuppose two major events. One is that owners of real estate are willing to sell a property for 70% or less of its current market value. And the second one is that there are buyers willing to pay 75% or more of the property's current market value. The reality of the situation in the market is that very few sellers would be willing to sell at 70% or less of a property's current market value. This expectation will become hard to materialize as you get involved in areas that have higher real estate values. When you deal in lower-priced regions, the concept of wholesaling will give you better returns. This is because homes that are newly built will not have sufficient equity to allow wholesalers to pick up deals at 70% or less, as these homes will have mortgages against them that are almost equal to that value. As the prices of properties increase, it becomes difficult to maintain the same percentages. Prime locality regions are most in demand, and locating buyers is easy, regardless of the condition of the property. Most sellers get their properties listed with a local real estate agent on the MLS, or Multiple Listing Service. Their properties will sell fast when the price is right for buyers. As these properties become easier to sell, many owners of well-maintained properties will not be so keen on giving them up for low prices. It could be generalized that property owners with premium localities and high-priced units will have access to the resources and information to market their estate smartly and would always be seeking to sell at more than 75% of the current market value. They can now go on the web and find the real worth of their properties. This makes it hard for wholesalers to find deals at 70% or less of the current market value. It becomes easier for them in areas that are not in demand by buyers, and with houses that are in a state of disrepair. In these conditions, the owner may be willing to sell the house cheaply. It's been a pleasure giving you this information, and I look forward to talking with you in our next video. Wholesale niches. There are ethical and practical issues involved in wholesaling. The drawback of not keeping a seller informed of various options of listing his or her property is that the owner will realize that you're trying to take advantage of him or her. The practicality of informing the owner about the true worth of his or her property may not work in your favor, as you may lose the deal altogether. The reality of the situation is that most sellers are aware of this, and as they are unable to find buyers who are willing to pay a higher price within the time frame they've set up, they still agree to sell it off to wholesalers. We recommend to all of our students to keep the property owners informed of the current market situation and put forth their proposal in a transparent manner. They can leave the sellers to make their own choices after that. All kinds of properties could be wholesale, ranging from houses to shopping centers. However, there are some niche properties that work very well with the wholesale technique. One of them involves vacant lots. Local builders are always on the lookout for vacant lots so that they can build on them. Vacant lots form simple property units, and they have very little variables like zoning, power, water, and sewer. They could be among the simplest and fastest wholesale mediums for you. The buyer whom you would be selling to cannot connect easily with the previous owner, as the owner will not be living in a vacant lot. The problem may arise for the wholesaler when a new buyer gets in direct touch with the original seller and convinces him or her to eliminate the middleman. Another good niche in the art of wholesaling involves older vacant homes in localities where there have been many teardowns to bring in luxury homes. There have been cases where luxury home builders have purchased properties for hundreds of thousands of dollars and then bulldozed the existing structure to build a multi-million-dollar luxury castle on the same lot. It goes to show how a vacant property could make wholesaling that much easier. Another niche that is beneficial for wholesaling involves old homes in a locality that is being remodeled. These localities could be spotted easily, as you would come across a large number of disproportionate dumpsters in the driveways of vacant homes in your neighborhood. It indicates that rehabbers have moved into this locality and are scooping up older homes so they could renovate them and turn them into modern dwellings that could fetch them higher prices. It is always helpful to know where that remodeled area is likely to be so that you can get there before others. After all, conventional wholesaling is about trying to get a deal before others and then getting the deal under contract so that you can get a prospective buyer as early as possible. It can give you a profitable deal, and the cash will flow in quickly. It's been a pleasure giving you this information. Retail wholesaling. This is a phrase launched by our team. It describes wholesaling or flipping of a property to retail buyers. The traditional wholesaling process involves selling a property to an investor, generally. This is a highly profitable option, particularly when a property is in a state of disrepair and when it needs fix-up jobs that are much more than cosmetic tasks, or when a property is a vacant lot. Our experienced team has found out that on many occasions you can do retail wholesaling with a deal to retail buyers. It may make you 10 times as much in profits for the same type of work when you sell it to an investor buyer. You will be surprised to know that retail buyers do not create a fuss, and they can be highly flexible when it comes to issues about condition of a property. Some like to do the painting themselves, and they are very happy with a little cosmetic jobs to fix up a home that they have just bought. An advantage with the technique of retail wholesaling is that some property deals will not have sufficient equity to make the profits in a traditional way of wholesaling, but may have just about enough for retail wholesaling. For example, a home is valued at $300,000, but a borrower owns $250,000. Although there is some equity present of $50,000, it will not be enough for an investor buyer to pay cash for that house and allow the wholesaler to make decent money out of it. In such cases, a retail wholesale strategy may work. The idea is to contract to buy a property for one price and then sell it to another buyer for a little higher price. In this strategy, you could expect two separate kinds of closings on the deal. They are back-to-back closing and the concurrent closing. These deals may not involve cash or credit investments. You may be able to put down just $1 as earnest money when the contract is executed with the seller. You do not incur any other cost out of your pocket for this deal. Fortunes could be made with no cash and no credit when you buy and sell real estate through retail wholesaling. You could also earn up to 10 times more than you would with a traditional style of wholesaling. However, this transaction is far more detailed and complicated than one of the traditional wholesale or flipping deal. The principal reason for this is that retail buyers usually rely on the regular mortgage loans when they buy properties, and the guidelines for underwriting of these loans could be quite rigid in order to restrict illegal flipping. Keeping the right mortgage people on a real estate management team will be essential to the successful completion of retail wholesaling. It's been a pleasure giving you this information, and I look forward to talking with you in our next video. Wholesale niches. There are ethical and practical issues involved in wholesaling. The drawback of not keeping a seller informed of various options of listing his or her property is that the owner will realize that you're trying to take advantage of him or her. The practicality of informing the owner about the true worth of his or her property may not work in your favor, as you may lose the deal altogether. The reality of the situation is that most sellers are aware of this, and as they are unable to find buyers who are willing to pay a higher price within the time frame they've set up, they still agree to sell it off to wholesalers. We recommend to all of our students to keep the property owners informed of the current market situation and put forth their proposal in a transparent manner. They can leave the sellers to make their own choices after that. All kinds of properties could be wholesaled, ranging from houses to shopping centers. However, there are some niche properties that work very well with the wholesale technique. One of them involves vacant lots. Local builders are always on the lookout for vacant lots so that they can build on them. Vacant lots form simple property units, and they have very little variables like zoning, power, water, and sewer. They could be among the simplest and fastest wholesale mediums for you. The buyer whom you would be selling to cannot connect easily with the previous owner, as the owner will not be living in a vacant lot. The problem may arise for the wholesaler when a new buyer gets in direct touch with the original seller and convinces him or her to eliminate the middleman. Another good niche in the art of wholesaling involves older vacant homes in localities where there have been many teardowns to bring in luxury homes. There have been cases where luxury home builders have purchased properties for hundreds of thousands of dollars and then bulldozed the existing structure to build a multi-million-dollar luxury castle on the same lot. It goes to show how a vacant property could make wholesaling that much easier. Another niche that is beneficial for wholesaling involves old homes in a locality that is being remodeled. These localities could be spotted easily, as you would come across a large number of disproportionate dumpsters in the driveways of vacant homes in your neighborhood. It indicates that rehabbers have moved into this locality and are scooping up older homes so they could renovate them and turn them into modern dwellings that could fetch them higher prices. It is always helpful to know where that remodeled area is likely to be so that you can get there before others. After all, conventional wholesaling is about trying to get a deal before others and then getting the deal under contract so that you can get a prospective buyer as early as possible. It can give you a profitable deal, and the cash will flow in quickly. It's been a pleasure giving you this information, and I'm looking forward to talking to you in our next video. Foreclosures. They are part and parcel of the investments in real estate. A foreclosure is also referred to as an REO, or real estate owned. The property is then owned by the bank that would sell it to recover its loans. Banks lend money toward the purchase of real estate, and when the borrowers default on their payments, they will acquire the concerned property legally as it was placed as collateral against the loan. A majority of collateral cases are in connection with loans involving real estate. The legal foreclosure process may differ, but its concept remains static. When the borrower is unable to pay the mortgage payments, the bank will take over the property from the concerned borrower. Once the bank takes up ownership of the property, it will try to sell it as fast as possible. This is done mostly at foreclosure auction, and it takes place at the county courthouse. When a property is foreclosed by a bank, the first thing that you can expect is that it would be sold first at the county courthouse auction locally. These auctions are held at regular intervals on business days. At the foreclosure auction, in a majority of cases, the property is not sold. The bank, who is managing the auction, becomes the highest bidder, and the purpose is not served. In some cases, the properties that are typically purchased at these foreclosure auctions are by experienced investors. This type of a purchase calls for immediate cash to fund the purchase. In a few countries, the cash has to be handed over to the attorney who is handling a foreclosure within 1 hour of the close of the auction. The money has to be kept ready prior to the time of the auction. This is difficult to manage through the funding channels that are mostly available to investors. As a result of the time constraint, many foreclosure auction buyers need to depend on teamwork, where a person has to be at the bank to create a cashier's check, while others are at the county courthouse for bidding on a property. A new trend is developing as foreclosure auctions are now being conducted online. Many foreclosure auctions deal with the purchase of sight unseen kind of real estate, unless the investors have inside tracks on those property deals. In such cases, it's assumed that investors cannot conduct inspections and they would not be certain of issues that might affect the said property. A thorough inspection is essential before purchasing any kind of property. No investor likes the idea of buying unseen real estate. A crucial detail that cannot be overlooked when purchasing real estate at such foreclosure auctions is that in a few cases, liens could reside against the properties after the foreclosure. It is not always true that foreclosures eliminate all liens. Investors would not be able to get a clear title to the property that they're buying at these auctions for a short period of time after the sale. When buying a property at a foreclosure auction in such redemption states, investors have to find out how the process of redemption functions. Investors have to be certain about the period that they're going to be in the clear when buying a property after a foreclosure auction. It is frustrating to put all the efforts and waste time to enhance a property after buying it, only to know that the previous homeowner is buying back through the redemption right as provided by law. It is also possible that the previous owner would still be living in that property. So after the foreclosure auction, investors have the added strain of evicting these owners to get possession of a property. It is better to understand how the process of eviction works in a particular county before purchasing real estate at foreclosure auctions. Investors at foreclosure auctions do face numerous challenges. However, the opportunities provided by such auctions give a good chance to make money. There are ways investors can go about reducing some of the risks involved in such cases. These sales work out well when an investor is able to inspect a property prior to the auction, review its title, get a redemption waiver from the owner, and have the cash lined up well ahead of the auction time. The fact of the matter is, only a few investors in any county will attempt to purchase such foreclosure auctions with so many entry barriers. The positive impact is that there is less competition for people who show an interest in such auctions, and the prospects could be encouraging when trying to grab more deals of this kind. It's been a pleasure giving you this information, and I look forward to talking to you in our next video.